Abraham, this is about my fundamental Christian sister. For 10 years, she tried to save me, and she put a lot of energy into that. And I tried to explain to her that the Course in Miracles was saying some pretty neat stuff too, and maybe she should look at that. Well, she wouldn't have anything to do with that. And she gave up about 2 years ago, and so did I.
You gave up on saving each other?
Yes. Since I've known you, since April, I'm listening to your ideas on contrast. And since then, I've truly come to honor her and her journey. And then even more recently, I think maybe she has sharpened my focus on finding the truth. So now then I can say that my strong emphasis on being a truth seeker has truly been heightened by her contrast. The question is, when she dies and goes back over on the other side, is she still going to believe in devils? And is she still going to believe that I've latched up with the devil here?
No, she will leave all of that here. When she reemerges into non-physical, she will reemerge into the knowing that well-being abounds. In other words, she will not find in the non-physical ethers a source that does not exist.
Well, why do those people keep coming back then in large groups to perpetuate this?
We want to start by saying that for the most part, they are extremely well-meaning. And we can give you just a few simple statements that will answer that question fully. If you want to feel good, and everyone does, and when you look at this, you do feel good, but when you look at that, you do feel bad. It's a logical assumption to say, we've got to join together to change those circumstances so that we can all feel good. But at the basis of that belief is also this belief that there is only one truth, and that we need to get everyone to agree to that one truth. And so what happens is, all over the world, there are people in religious settings who are willing to fight to the death to prove that the one truth that they hold is the one right truth. They are not willing to stand back far enough to acknowledge that the variety and the contrast is what puts the eternalness in eternity. It is a misunderstanding of what creation is about. Now, we're going to make it even more clear. If you want to feel good, and you believe that your sister has to change the way she thinks before you can feel good, you really believe that, and you can't get her to change the way she believes, so you can't feel good, you're going to get more and more angry at her, and you're going to try to gather more and more resources to try to convince her, because after all, your happiness hinges upon what she does. So you get bigger churches, or you get bigger bombs, or you get bigger influences, and you push harder against what she believes. And in doing so, you activate within you the very thing that you do not want. So she gets bigger. You give power to the very thing that you are pushing against. And she is doing the same thing. It's a fascinating thing to watch two different groups on two different sides of the argument. This one giving power to that one, and this one giving power to that one. It's fascinating. The group that wins the election is the group that has been pushed against the hardest by the other. So you might we're not kidding you. Michael Moore is helping Bush win. He doesn't know it, but he's activating the vibration within masses that give power to the very thing that they do not want, because there's no such thing as no in this vibrational universe that's based upon inclusion, you see. So let's get back to the heart of your question. So this very well-meaning sister, or anyone who wants to feel good, who believes that you need to do something in order for her to feel good, is fighting a losing battle, because there will always be something else that she cannot control, that she needs to control in order to feel good. And that's why the stakes get higher and higher. It's why they get louder and louder. It's why they speak words on all sides of all aisles. We're not picking on anyone. They speak louder and louder words as they feel more and more futility in getting what they are reaching for, you see. And everybody doesn't have to figure this out. Only you have to figure it out for yourself. You see, what unconditional love is, people talk about it, but what conditional love says, I want to feel good, but I can't as long as you do that. So that condition has to change so that I can feel love. Conditional love. Unconditional love says, I want so much to feel good that I will find a way of approaching it that allows me to feel good regardless of the conditions. Unconditional love. I'm able to stay connected to Source no matter what you think of me. I'm able to love you, sister, even when you're worried about me. I don't let your worry of me make me defensive, because I've trained myself to love you. I've practiced the thoughts that make me feel best about you. I've gone through our childhood, I've gone through our adulthood, and I've made lists of tender moments and lists of virtues that you possess that are many, that make me feel good when I focus upon them. And I've trained myself to activate that part of you in my vibration. So the part of you that makes me feel the best, and there's a lot of it, I have practiced until it's the most active part of my vibration. And I do that with you, I do that with the world, I do that with other people, I do that everywhere I go, so that the parts of this world that feel the best to me are the parts that I line up with the most. And so now I do not feel such a need to make you all agree with me so that I can be happy, because I've discovered that I can be happy whether you agree with me or not. And now I've discovered that there is some value in what you think. And I'm willing to let you line up with what you think, because I understand that you don't have the power to negatively affect me, so I don't have to be defensive. I'm tuned in, tapped in, turned on. I'm in alignment with Source. I don't have to fear you or anything anymore, because I'm in alignment with Source. I'm in alignment with well-being. And I want to be an example of that to anyone that wants to hear it. So you will never hear from me, you would say to your sister or anyone like her. You will never hear from me the things that I think you need to do differently so that I can feel better. Because I honor that you're making the choices that are right for you. And I love you making choices that are right for you. There's nothing in all of this universe that I want more for you than your thriving. I love it when you thrive. And you can say, and there are a lot of religious people that you could say this to and really mean it. I know that you want to be good, and I know that you believe through this action that you are, and therefore you have found alignment, and I honor and bless your alignment. And then you can add to it and really mean it. And I'm so happy that I don't care what you think about me not joining you. And when you get to the place where you don't need me to join you, then you'll have your heaven on earth. In other words, you'll have your heaven on earth when you discover your alignment, just like I've got my heaven on earth now that I've discovered my alignment. And there could be 5 billion people on the planet having 5 billion different heaven on earths without stepping on the toes of one other, you see, because the resources of the universe are enough to accommodate everybody. But when I think that you need to be different, now I've cut myself off from my resources, and now I blame you, just like you've been blaming me.
Thank you. Another question. In terms of what God created, are you any different from me?
We are all part of the energy stream. In terms of what God created, we are all energy. The only difference worth mentioning is Abraham, as you are addressing us in our current state of being, has no resistance whatsoever. And as a physically focused human, you have resistance. In terms of what God created, there is no difference. In terms of what you have become, there is a difference. You've become aware of things you don't want, and you have been willing to activate those things that you do not want, so your vibration is less pure than ours, which means you feel less good than we do, which means you are allowing less well-being than we are. Just speaking in terms, in the exact way in which you phrased the question. What we really want to say to you is that we are all in this together. And what we really want to say to you is that we are pure positive energy, and so are you. And you are an extension of that which we are, and we are an extension of that which you are calling God. In other words, we are all extensions of this same energy. And to the degree that we allow our connection to Source, we feel wonderful in the moment of allowing it. And to the degree that we do not allow it, we do not feel so good. So, the most religious, wanting to be right, wanting to honor that which he calls God person, who's standing in a place of pushing against and speaking hate, it does not matter what label he gives himself. He is in that moment not allowing himself to be an extension of that which is Source. And it's interesting to watch people all over the planet outraged at the behavior of others and therefore not in alignment with the God they profess. On all sides of it. Condemning each other's actions instead of tending to own personal connection with Source. You see. That's why you've got to find a way of separating the action and what you call the reality from the emotional vibrational journey. In other words, you've got to find a way to disengage with the reality while you tend to your vibration so that you can change your reality. And when you discover that, people will say, I can't ignore what is. And we say, yes, you can. You just don't want to enough. No, I can't ignore reality. We say, yes, you can. You just don't want to enough. They say, it's the truth. I must honor the truth with my attention to it. And we say, then you will repeat it. No. I'm honoring the truth. I'm making the monument. I'm writing the book. I'm telling it like it is because I want it to be different. And we say, then you're going about it in the wrong way. Because when you tell it like it is, it's going to be more like it is. And the more you tell it like it is, the more like it is becomes. And the madder you get. You've got to start telling it like you want to be. You've got to start lining up with the vision of what you want. So people say, Abraham, in your selfishness, how can you preach such selfishness? Should we not be altruistic? Should we not be giving people a hand up? And we say, of course, you're wanting well-being. You want to wish well-being to others. But you cannot give them what you do not have. And if you are not in alignment with that which is Source, you have nothing to give, you see. You're just another voice screaming in the darkness about what's gone wrong.
When I die and go to the other side, will I have the choice of either coming back here again or maybe joining up with Abraham?
Well, it's not an either-or choice, because you join up with that which you really are. You are joined up with that which you really are all of the time, anyway. You think in terms of being dead or alive, and so then you think in terms of being physical or non-physical. But you don't have that choice because you are always non-physical. And sometimes you put more of that non-physical focus into that which you call physical. So yes, you do have that choice. It's a conscious choice that you make from your broader non-physical perspective, and the choice is always the same. I want more physical experience. Sometimes people say, oh, Abraham, are you sure that's right? Because there you are non-physically focused, and we say, why do you say that? Why do you say that Abraham is only non-physically focused? You say, well, you said you are. You said you're non-physical energy. You're the one that told us that you're speaking to us from non-physical perspective. We say, yes, but we have never said that we are only speaking to you from non-physical perspective. How do you decide what part of us is Esther and what part of us is Abraham and what part of us is God? How do you decide that? How do you decide what part of you is the physical you, the human, and how do you know which part of you is the mind that is Source? How do you know? And we want to say to you, there is no separation. You cannot separate yourself from that which is infinitely, eternally God, you. You can't separate yourself from that, you see. So a lot of times people will say sort of what you've said, only they'll take it further. They'll say, Abraham, I've enjoyed this experience to a point, but I want you to know that once I make my transition to non-physical, I'm done with physical. So tell anyone who needs to know. And we always say, we will carry your message.